We all misbehave sometimes. Wanna change the world, indulge in some bad behavior.
Hello and welcome to Bad Behavior, where we talk about women, activism and positive change and our journey to becoming the best, baddest bitches that we can be. I'm Rosalind.
I'm Nicola, and welcome to another episode of Bad Behavior.
Woo!
How are you going, my dear
I
Rosalind?
am so well. It's beautiful to hear your beautiful voice in this beautiful episode.
Lots of beautifuls there.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I mean, I've run out of
needed
adjectives.
that.
That's how you make me feel.
I feel like I should throw something back in your direction. Amazing. Inspiring. The woman of my dreams.
Yeah.
Intellectual goddess.
Yeah.
Are they good for you?
Yeah, I mean, we could keep going. I mean, a full 25 minutes of this would be great.
Just me shouting words at you.
No, shouting words about me.
Shouting words of praise. And as I shout each word, I get more and more loud and angry. So
Why angry?
Because I want it to be like a performance art piece, you know, like...
Well, then paint should be involved. We should throw paint at each other.
This took a strange turn.
Yeah.
It really
Anyway,
did.
hey, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How have you been bad this week?
So my being bad was more of like, sometimes we have these reflective moments, right? Where we, you know, epiphany moment. Everyone has their work BFF, you know, it's a staple in our society. You have that pal at work.
My work BFF is like a 65-year-old woman. I love her.
Exactly. And so my work pal, she is a goddess, so beautiful. We were having a chat about our youth, you know, even though we are living our youth, but very over dramatic, as most of the conversations I have are. And we were talking about sex. Oh my God, sex. That's very risque and kind of a new thing to talk about. Like, I hadn't spoken about that with my coworker before.
It's definitely a line in the sand when you first meet someone, especially at work, where you don't, it's kind of cheeky to bring it up and a bit naughty and a bit, not really a colleague thing. It's more of a friend thing. You can truly say you're friends now.
Well, we can, because you know how it got brought up, because she came in with 2 hickeys and I was like, yes, girl, get it. You got that. Like, you had a good weekend. So did I. Let's just pass around the love. Actually, no, not pass around the love. That sounds very creepy in an office setting. I was giving her a pat on the back, as you do. And so we were talking about our sexual history, as you do once sex has been brought up. And she was like telling me how she used to be a player back in the day. She's married now. And I was like, oh my goodness, look at you, you know, with your promiscuous sexual past. And then I kind of shared that I was of a similar vein, you know, had some pretty good stories up my sleeve. And it was very freeing, to be honest, because I always get scared when I talk about past sexual experiences with people. I feel like there's constantly going to be judgment.
In what way?
I don't know how to explain it. It's a weird thing of mine. I'm very open with my friends, a bit too open, very detailed. But then when it comes to new people...
You feel like you're going to do the walk of shame about your sexual history.
Yes, the verbal walk of shame.
Yeah.
And it makes me really uncomfortable.
Well, it's true. When you talk about that kind of stuff with new people, you feel like they might get a certain idea about you.
Yeah, and it's not even an oversharing thing, you know, like people sometimes want those details and I'm happy to give them, but then there's just that trepidation of like, ooh, I don't know how they're going to react to this. Are they going to see me differently? Are they going to strip me of all my accolades?
I mean, you called your work friend earlier a player. And I think that's really cool because a lot of the time we call men players and we call women whores or sluts or
hoe, slozzer,
various derogatory terms that mean player, that mean you enjoy your body and you enjoy having sex, which is normal and fun and free.
You know, my favorite one is slaw, which is a combination between slut and whore.
Oh, see, it just makes me think of coleslaw, like the food, which is actually quite apt.
How? In what way? It is like the least sexy food to ever exist.
I don't think so.
Mayonnaise,
actually, carrots. Cabbage.
Oh my god. Go back to the drawing board, man. Coleslaw is not good. In conclusion, I'm a free sexual being and I will own that shit.
And you're not ashamed of it anymore. Rip open the doors. Scream it to the world. Tell your neighbors. Tell your postman. Tell the man who makes you coffee every morning.
Okay, well, maybe not that far.
Wow, way to not meet me on my emotional level.
I'm on your emotional level, but it's my emotions, so please be careful with them. Anyways, how have you been bad this week?
Okay, mine was also a little bit of an epiphany, a little bit of a journey, if you will. I would not consider myself a photogenic child. I didn't smile often as a child, and I think I looked a little bit like a gremlin.
I could see that, yeah.
Oh, thanks so much. You were supposed to defend me.
A cute gremlin.
Whatever. Anyway, so I have this particular photo that is of me, my brother, and my sister on a roller coaster when I'm 6 years old, and I look absolutely terrified. My mouth has become a shape that I didn't know was possible in the human body, and it's a genuinely frightening and horrible photo. My sister loves it, and she shows everybody who comes over when we were younger, and she would say, hey, do you want to see a really lovely photo? Just come with me. And she would come and show them this photo of me when I'm 6 years old looking terrible, to the point that I was so ashamed that I hid it. And I hid it so well that we lost it for a couple of years, and recently found it because my mother moved house and it was in a box with some of her paintings. So it's my shame. It's my secret, abiding, long-term shame.
It's such a good photo, though.
Shut up.
Seriously.
So I was thinking about it, and I kind of realized that what with social media perhaps and various other things, I have a curated version of what I look like in my head, and I only accept certain photos. Everybody has those photos where they are in the background of a candid picture with two double chins and an unflattering shirt on that day, and you go, well, I'm pretty in other ways. I have other talents. Maybe my profile is not one of them. I was thinking about it, and I was looking at some of these old photos, and a lot of my memories and things that happened I've kind of forgot about because I didn't look at the photos of them because I didn't like them. And that's worrying, right? Because we're all supposed to be on this journey of self-love and try and love our bodies for what they are. But throughout puberty, I definitely didn't. And when I look at them, I feel quite viscerally that awkward time of my life. But I found that photo of me looking like a very scared and crazy gremlin, and I decided that I need to stop being ashamed of these photos. I need to look at them more and accept that they're just a version of ugly that I've created in my head. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
They're not ugly at all, too. Like, I always found it, I remember thinking when I first saw the photo that it was super strange how, like, anxious you got about people seeing it, because I thought, you're a child, it's cute, it's fun, it's such a lovely memory attached to it.
I think it was a little bit because my sister teased me about it, if I'm honest.
Now you can shed all those misconceptions and just post that photo on our Bad Behavior Instagram page, which she's going to do. Yeah,
what?
It's going to happen. It's such a good photo, seriously. No. It's so good, and I think it will bring people so much
You have a hidden agenda. You just want me to post this really embarrassing photo on our Instagram. I mean, okay, no. If you post an embarrassing photo from your youth, I will post one of mine.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. I have no shame.
It has to be one that you were ashamed of, though. It has to be a bad photo.
I can't meet you there. I have no photos from my youth that I'm ashamed of because...
You don't have any photos of you dressed as the purple people eater?
Purple people? Oh, you mean...
Puff the Magic Dragon? Who was it?
I could dig those up, man. They're somewhere. The Puff the Magic Dragon photos will have to go on Instagram then.
Yes. Well, that's my bad behavior of the week. I have sort of come to an epiphany about photos of myself and what they mean. Really how little they mean.
Yeah, I like it. Who gives a shit?
They're worth more than the aesthetic appeal of my face. They're memories.
Exactly. And memories matter. That's what they say.
Oh, they do. They do.
So stay tuned for that little picky pick on our Instagram because, oh my God, it will make your day.
Anyway, moving on.
This week we have a really cool topic that we are discussing.
It is something that we love.
Oh, we love so much.
Something that sustains us. Something that we could not live without, nor would we wish to.
It's food. We're talking about food, guys. The whole time I was researching my woman, I was so hungry.
Well, now that you've mentioned her, tell me more.
This wonderful woman that sparked this hunger inside of me.
Sounds like the beginning of a romance novel.
Not romance. More, let's say an intellectual romance.
An erotic fiction. Go.
Oh, God. Well, here she is, Chef Daniela Soto-Innes. She has really huge accomplishments based on age. She's 25 right now. She is from Mexico City. A lot of her culinary passion was born through exploring the food scene there. She took that passion and it kind of blossomed when she moved over to the US. So she started culinary lessons at 5 years old.
What, proper lessons?
Yeah, she comes from a family that is very passionate about food. Her grandma owned a bakery. Her mother was always taking cooking classes. So her passion was strong and vibrant and she was ready to go. A chef from the Marriott came to her school when she was 14 and she basically begged him for a job. She was like, I need a job, give me one, please, please, please. He did. So she was, put in the kitchen there, like peeling potatoes and washing lettuce.
You got to start from the bottom, work your way up. Go, girl.
Exactly. And she loved it so much that she was prepared to do anything. And so at 16, she finally was able to do an apprenticeship. So she learned all the basics, really honed her craft, finished high school early at 17, enrolled in culinary school, graduated at 19. So in 2014, at the age of 23, she helped open Cosme in New York City, serving as the chef de cuisine, which is an incredible achievement. That position and that title is not usually awarded to people so young. So there was a lot of buzz around that, and she was really heavily recognized for her talent and for the amazing vibrancy that she brought into the kitchen. And 2 years after that, in 2016, she received the James Beard Award for Rising Star Chef. So that award is basically, from my research, it's like the Oscars of the food world. So she's 24 and she's just gotten a goddamn Oscar and helped open her own restaurant in New York City. This restaurant is one of the world's 50 best restaurants. So she's a partner at that restaurant as well as the team's latest space, Atla. So there is a really cool anecdote too about how Michelle and Barack called up and asked for a table, and how the restaurant went into like a mad rush and they were seated at a table in the corner, which I think is so cool. Just the fact that this restaurant has served as a date night destination for the Obamas is so cool.
I love that you called them Michelle and Barack. Like you know them personally. My buddies Michelle and Barack went to a restaurant.
They are my spiritual advisors, seriously. So she's just incredible. She's achieved so much in her life. She has a goal of one day following in her mother's footsteps and opening a cooking school. Isn't that so cute?
Yeah, and she'll start them early. They'll all turn up at 5 years old and she'll be like, I don't know, under the wire. I was expecting 3-year-olds.
I honestly, if this was the journey to success, I would, chuck my child into culinary school at 5.
They'd have to really like cooking.
Yeah, look, that's the other side of it, isn't it? I'm not going to, force my child to cook if she hates cooking, but...
The theatre mums of the chef world.
Oh, absolutely.
They're out there. Probably.
I mean, that's the thing that propelled Daniela, was just her passion. It's what carried her so far, and that's why she's achieved such incredible things at such a young age.
And it's why she's a bad bitch.
In her little bio on the website, it describes that believes the simplest food can inspire the imagination most of all, and she makes her dishes meaningful by finding the secret life in them. How cute is that?
I want to eat her food.
That's why I said I was hungry. She describes food in a way that is so visceral and delicious. One of the articles that I was reading when I was researching her was like a week in her life. She was keeping like a food and drink diary. Just pairing all these things together that you wouldn't think would pair, like mango and turmeric.
Oh.
Just different spices with fruit and a lot of avocado. Just, oh my God, I'm making myself so hungry right now. I have a little cool couple of quotes from her. She says, "I started in a real kitchen when I was 14. The whole time I've lied about my age until I got to Cosme, and then I only lied for the first 3 months. I quickly realized it's an advantage to be young in such a high position. It pushes people to be better." And the reason why she says that she loves this whole life of hers and her job is, she says, "I love going to the dining room and seeing all the smiles. I love just watching people enjoying what you are taking from the kitchen. It's crazy because you say you have a carrot, a braised carrot or a roasted carrot. You have to think about the farmer who was so happy when he saw the carrot grow, and then seeing people enjoying eating that carrot in the restaurant. Seeing the whole picture of things is my favorite part of that." Isn't that so cute?
That is very cute.
I love it.
I hate cooked carrot.
I mean, can you not rain on her parade? It's a metaphor.
It's beautiful. I love that. I love that she loves her job. I like that she goes out and she looks at the people and she goes, "I am an entertainer of the food buds." What?
Of the taste buds.
Yes, I am an entertainer of the taste buds. Yeah.
I get what you were saying. Yeah, she's super cool. And Daniela is a bad bitch because she has not been afraid to assert herself in the kitchen at such a young age. I think that she's never apologized for being young and successful. She's just understood that she's talented and she deserves everything she has. And I think that's a really interesting thing to consider, because a lot of the time young women apologize for their voice or their presence in a conversation when you just don't need to.
Yeah.
You just need to know that it's your right to be able to express what you want to express and also show people your talent, and she's undeniably incredible at what she does.
Live your life like it's begun. Start now, no matter your age.
Yes. What would Daniela do? That is my new motto.
She would probably cook it really well and watch others eat it with love.
Exactly. And that's not what I'm going to do because I'm a terrible cook, but I'm gonna pretend that I'm cooking and I'm smiling. Anyways, I'm so glad to have had a small glimpse of the powerhouse that this woman is going to become. Do you want to tell me about your badass woman?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be talking about Jack Monroe. Jack identifies as non-binary, so I'll be referring to them as they. They are an activist, a writer, blogger, and a cook, and has a really, really interesting story, so let me dive in. So Jack is a single parent, and after having a child, they were unable to arrange their work schedule around childcare and all the responsibilities that came with it, and they ended up being on benefits, and it was really, really tough. During that time, they started writing a blog in 2013 called, well, it was originally called A Girl Called Jack, and it's now called Cooking on a Bootstrap. It started as a blog about local politics, and there were a few recipes sort of thrown in there, but the recipes were kind of for people who didn't have a lot of money, austerity recipes in a way. And there was one post called Hunger Hurts, and it was about being a single mother on benefits that are being delayed or not being paid, and what it's like to live in basically poverty in Britain. And it just went viral because it was so moving for people. They were desperate for money, they couldn't afford food, they couldn't afford, Christmas presents for their son, so they decided to do an interview for about £200, and it kind of went on from there. They wrote columns and articles, and eventually they got a cookbook deal from Penguin. They've now written 3 books and are working on a 4th. The first is called A Girl Called Jack, then there's A Year and 120 Recipes, and then Cooking on a Bootstrap. So original recipes that are costed from major supermarkets. So it's all about having a budget and being able to cook really healthy, well-made food without having to break the bank, because they lived it,
That's incredible.
Yeah, so they have campaigned on poverty and hunger relief with organisations like Oxfam and Child Poverty Action Group, Food Chain, and many, many more. I couldn't list them, there were so many. They've written for outlets including The Guardian and Huffington Post. And the really interesting thing for me about Jack was that they used their platform to talk about food issues. So things like how hard it is to eat healthily on a low budget, and how policies in Britain don't really consider that when they talk about obesity and various other things. Also, they have some really interesting things to say. So they're vegan and have been for a long time, but they said that being vegan is a privilege because having choices around the food you eat is a privilege, because not everyone can afford to be choosy about what they eat. Sometimes you have to just get what's available and canned or things on special rather than going, okay, I'm going to get fresh produce and eat well. So some of the recipes in Cooking on a Bootstrap are not vegan, and being a vegan, a lot of people sort of clap back on that, and they said, I received messages wishing that I would be boiled alive, graphics mocked up of my own face with a fish hook piercing through it, grotesque and threatening. So that's pretty full on. But they said, I stood my ground. It was about having recipes that people could afford, and some people, don't have that privilege of choosing to be vegan. It's a recipe that I had before I went vegan. Of course I was going to put it on. And the next book that they're writing is going to be called Vegan on a Bootstrap. But I thought that was really interesting because I was vegan for 2 years and I'm vegetarian now, but I'm definitely not strict about it because I became vegan for environmental reasons, and eating less meat has a huge impact on the environment already. So it's really interesting that people were so overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting because I feel like, especially when it comes to what people eat, once you proclaim that you eat a certain type of way, everyone gets really angry if you change that. I know even it's something that I've had to kind of adjust to because I'm vegetarian. I've been vegetarian pretty much my whole life. There's been a couple of years where I haven't been, but sometimes I get a bit judgmental about non-vegetarians, and I just, it's not well placed. I have no right to judge other people's lifestyles or what they eat. It's such a personal thing, what you eat and what you consume.
Yeah, but at the same time, for me, as someone who's very much involved in loving the environment, and a lot of my activism has been about environmental change, you do get that sense of, don't you care? Don't you care? Aren't you on my level? But it's crazy because, you forget that it is such a personal choice.
I know, and it's no one has the right to talk about it either, no one, I'm sure they felt really intensely scrutinized when they included those kind of recipes in their book, but that's the reality of it. As if you wouldn't, most families living in poverty are going to be eating some type of meat. I had a conversation with one of my friends who's in the Peace Corps in Ethiopia right now, and I asked her, are there many vegetarians over there? Is it easy to be vegetarian? And she said, the fact that you even asked me that, it shows that you don't really know what it's like to have the luxury to choose your diet.
They went through a period of intense difficulty and had to make sacrifices and had to try and make ends meet, and they couldn't always choose. And then when they got to a point where they were affluent enough to have that privilege of choosing what they ate, they went vegan. The fact that they then looked at it and said, I come from a place of privilege when I choose this way, that's really interesting and not something I thought about. I have never looked at my eating choices and thought, what a privilege for me to be able to do this. And I think that's wonderful that it kind of opened my eyes to that issue.
Yeah, it's super powerful to think about. It's amazing, It's incredible that both these women that we've spoken about have used the circumstances in which they grew up with in order to influence the way that people eat. Yeah. It's just so cool because food can have such an amazing influence on a community and the way that someone lives. And
yeah, they've won a lot of awards. So many, in fact, that I chose a few. So got Woman at the Top from Mary Claire. The YMCA Courage and Inspiration Award has 2 honorary doctorates, one from the University of Essex and one from Coventry University. And in 2015, Jack won the Woman of the Future Award in the media category. And this was after they came out as non-binary.
Oh, wow.
Which created a lot of controversy and angered them a lot because they said, because of my trans identity, I'm attacked for accepting a real woman's award.
Wow.
Because, they identify as non-binary or genderqueer and are really active in that and trying to raise awareness of that. And then they get an amazing award for their work. And it's like, well, your gender doesn't fit, Is there a trans or genderqueer or non-binary person of the future award? Probably not. Are we saying that because of it they can't win an award? Anyway, crazy. So I thought it was really interesting. One of the quotes that I have is they say, "I'm not saying anything revolutionary. Mostly I'm just trying to make beans taste okay and saying that people need a decent place to live."
Ain't that the truth?
And it's like, okay, that's not revolutionary maybe, but the fact that people have to say the obvious over and over again to let a simple message be heard enough to create change, that's amazing. And that is pretty bad bitch behavior, if I say so myself.
I'm so down for everything that they've created, and these women have inspired the hunger within me.
Let's go eat something. Now, I'm sure there is a lot of things we did not say about these women, so if you want to find out more, please head to our website and we'll put a few links in there for you. And thank you so much for joining us in an amazing episode about something that we love. Bye.